to our first episode of Tampa Bay Politics for the New Year. Welcome to 2023. And we're so excited because we have in the house a sitting city councilwoman, Lynn Hertag. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, this little lady has gotten herself in the middle of a very controversial race by no fault of her own.
Yes. It's been exciting. I was appointed 8 months ago, and since then, I've decided to just run for my seat, and others have decided to jump into my race.
And we're going to talk about all your opponents, especially one who happens to be the mother-in-law to our mayor. But first, let's talk all about Lynn. Let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born here in Tampa at St. Joseph's Hospital. I lived in Forest Hills when I was born, and my parents both went to University of South Florida, and they met afterward.
Okay.
And got married and settled down here. My mother was a social worker. She worked at St. Peter Claver, and
what a beautiful school.
Mm-hmm, yeah, she and then my father was a salesman, and that's actually what led us to move from Tampa up to Gainesville when I was 5. So my family moved up to Gainesville, and I went to school up there. Graduated. I have 2 degrees from the University of Florida.
Okay.
One in, I got my bachelor's in political science, and then received my master's in elementary education.
Well, that's an interesting combination.
Well, what happened was I was taking, my political science classes, and I ended up taking a class called The Politics of Poverty, and I read Jonathan Kozol there, Savage Inequalities, and I decided I wanted to volunteer in the schools. So
I see.
I went back to the school I went to as a child, Idlewild Elementary, and just the bug just hit. I was a volunteer. I started substitute teaching. I got an aide position at the school, and decided I wanted to go back and become a teacher. So I went to class at night while I was an aide, and then was hired at that very same school.
And how long did you teach?
Overall, I worked in education for 10 years.
Okay.
About 5 years full-time in the classroom, but overall 10 years. And I was also my school's union representative. What I learned from that, especially as an aide, we all worked together, and I really appreciated as an aide when the teachers stood up for us and wouldn't take a raise unless we had a raise, that same percent. And that taught me very early on the power of unions and the power of sticking together, and how those with a larger voice can help those with a lesser voice. And, I taught in that Title I setting, like I said, for 10 years, or worked in that setting, and just absolutely loved it. And then, at some point you're just done. I burnt out, and that is not, that when you're done, when you can't do it anymore, you move on.
You can't do it anymore. And we appreciate all of our teachers that work in the inner city, because it's not hard. It's not easy.
No, it's not an easy job.
Very difficult. And now they're becoming social workers.
Oh, we've always been social workers. It's just part of what teachers do, but we're caring. That's just one of the things that we do as educators. But from there, I went on to what I do now. I've been working for over 13 years in the international development space. I work as both an editor and an evaluator for USAID projects, and that means that.
Are you actually working for the United States of America?
I work as a consultant, so I
you're
work
working for the government.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oftentimes, I'm actually paid through the non-governmental organization. So, say Catholic Relief Services is a big name. Did a lot of work through them, and that's probably the biggest name that folks would know. And they would go into a country often different third world countries, and do different projects. So the government would give them, $5 million to work on, say, improving the seed yield in an area that is underdeveloped. And
say that again.
Seed yield. So basically, when you grow a crop,
yes,
part of what you can do from corn, say, is you can save some of that as seed for for future harvests or future crops. One of the things we worked on a lot was better storage, so folks could store their food before they took it to market to get better price on it, to wait till the overflow was done.
Well, if you teach a man to fish, yep, he'll never be hungry a day in his life. So I love that.
Exactly, but what my job was not to teach that. My job was to go in and see, you said you're going to do this. How well did you do it? We gave you X amount of money. Did you spend the money the way you were supposed to spend the money? Were you able to meet the objectives you said you were going to meet? And if you didn't, why weren't you able to? Or if you did and you were able to overly exceed, why do you think that was? So we always ended up with lessons learned or best practices, and that has really helped me on council, the ability.
I'm sure, that's an awesome background.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you married?
I am married. I just celebrated my 10th wedding anniversary.
Wow,
thank you. With my husband. His name is Timothy Burke, and he is
Just so everyone knows, she is married, but they have different names.
Yes, we have different last names. He is a journalist, and when I met him, he was a professor. And
where was he teaching?
He was teaching here at USF.
Oh, okay.
He was working on his dissertation at the time.
So what was his subject?
His subject, he worked in communications. He was in the communications department, and his was more ethnographic research. He was focused on, for this particular dissertation, he was focused on women's identity in the poker space. This was when poker was, newer, and folks.
So that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Women in poker.
Well,
didn't know.
But if you think about it, when you watch poker and everybody has their persona. So to not give away a card, or to their strategy for putting money in. I don't know a lot about poker, but basically the idea of how women who are newer to the space, how they went in and created their identity.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I happen to know Mr. Timothy Burke because we served on the League of Women Voters together.
Yes, he's the current treasurer.
And he's the current treasurer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's an organization that's near and dear to my heart. And he also has a little celebrity attached to him.
He does. He's also from being a journalist. He's also a media consultant currently. But in his journalism career, he actually, along with a coworker, broke the Manti Te'o story, which is the story about the Notre Dame football player with the fake girlfriend, so that he was catfished. This happened they broke the story in January of 2013, 1 month after we got married. Oh. And there was recently, I want to say probably October, November, a Netflix special that came out that talked about the Manti Te'o story.
I'm sitting on my couch watching Netflix, and I see Timothy on there. I said, I know that guy.
Yep, it's amazing. It's the story is I think it's called Untold: The Girlfriend Who Did Not Exist. If anybody wants to check it out.
If you want to check it out, it's on Netflix. That's nationwide. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what you were doing before you became a city councilwoman.
Well, we moved back
in the community, I should say.
Mm-hmm. We moved back to Tampa in 2015. And I immediately got involved with the neighborhood association. We live in Old Seminole Heights. Got involved there and stayed involved. I was vice president for 2 years when I had to step down to take the city council appointment.
Okay.
So I was involved with the neighborhood and all the different issues that neighborhoods deal with.
And Seminole Heights has a lot going on.
We do.
Going through gentrification.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got a lot of people moving in, moving out.
Yeah, the struggles and the trying to keep an identity of the neighborhood has definitely been an issue. In 2017, I decided to apply to join the city's Charter Review Commission.
Okay.
And I was actually encouraged to do that because I went up with the League of Women Voters to Tallahassee to lobby. And while I was there was a woman who was the keynote speaker who had been on the state's Constitutional Revision Commission. And she said, she just said, go for it. You should absolutely. As an editor, she said, you know, periods matter, commas matter. And I thought, okay, I can do this. Why not? But what differentiated me was when I applied for that position, I didn't know it was political and that everybody had their, appointees they wanted. But not only did I apply for the commission, I also applied to be an alternate. There were only 4 people who applied to be alternates. So the people were actually chosen for the commission, but I was chosen as an alternate because I was known as a community neighborhood involvement member. And Orlando Goods was also another alternate.
So what does an alternate do?
Well, normally we just sit there
Oh.
and wait, and if someone drops out, we had very rigorous attendance policy. If you didn't show up for 2 meetings in a row, you were out. And that's exactly what happened.
Where were the meetings?
The meetings were at City Hall.
Oh, right here in Tampa.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because this was the city's Charter Review Commission, which is the city's constitution, and it hadn't been reviewed since 1975 in its inception.
I see. Okay.
And we looked at all sorts of things. It's only an 11-page document. But the reason I got on was because 2 people who had been appointed to that commission didn't show up.
Oh, they did?
2 times in a row. So both Orlando and I were able to get on the commission that way. Actually, Joe Citro, he was on the commission as the alternate after that.
I see.
In addition, another current city council member who was on that was Bill Carlson. Other members...
My favorite.
Yes. One of other people who are on there include our current city attorney, Andrea Zellman, and Morris Massey, who is another current city, works as a deputy city attorney for the city of Tampa. None of those people worked for the city at the time because this was a volunteer citizen group. So I sat on the Charter Review Commission, like I said, with those folks, and once we were finished, we had 18 amendments that were on the ballot in 2019. If you remember the 2019 ballot, 18. It had 4 pages.
Really?
Yes, it was very, it was robust. But we looked at a lot of different things. Most of the changes were very simple. Things like every pronoun was a he, even though we had 2 women mayors and countless women council members by then. The water department had a different name. I mean, just simple little fixes, and we also had some larger fixes. And the citizens agreed that all of those changes should be passed and be part of the city's constitution. So they were. After that role doing that, the 3 members who sit on city council were elected during that race. So that was Bill Carlson, Orlando Goods, and Joe Citro. And Mr. Citro asked if I would take his seat on the city's Variance Review Board. And the Variance Review Board looks at land use issues, folks wanting usually setback changes, little things that need to be looked at but don't need the full city council to look at. And so I served there for 2.5 years until I was appointed to city council. So that's my background.
Of course, most citizens have no idea these things are going on. So thank you for that wealth of information you just gave us. Guess what? That first segment is gone already. If you are tuning in, I'm speaking with Lynn Hurtak, one of our sitting Tampa City Council women. We'll be right back. You got that camera in my face.
Mr. Call. Ricky.
or a lawyer. I got the man to do the leg work for you. Okay, so now we're going to go into your race. So believe and we're going to talk about exactly how you got on city council. Everything going to be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida, grab a pen of sundown. 184-361 Rick. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361 Rick. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361 Rick. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
Because we have in the house our sitting Tampa City Councilwoman, Lynn Hurtak. All right. Now, Lynn, you were not elected to this position. You were appointed.
I was. One of the council members, John Dingfelder, resigned. And because, according to the city's charter, anyone who leaves council with 15 or fewer months left in their term, the council will appoint the replacement. If it's 15 or more months, then we have a special election.
I see. Now, just to say, Mr. Dingfelder I thought he did a very, very good job, but he came in the crosshairs of a big developer, over development in South Tampa. And Mr. Dingfelder and his wife felt that it just wasn't worth spending all of their retirement funds to fight that issue.
Yes.
So he stepped down, which was very sad.
Yes. I enjoyed working with him as a neighborhood leader.
Oh, yes. I mean, he had a heart for the people, a heart for the community. So, Mr. Dingfelder, if you're listening, we're very sorry that happened to you. But we got someone awesome to take your place, and I know he's probably happy about that too.
I hope so, yes.
All right, so what was the process you had to go through? I know there was a lot of people that stepped forward.
Yes, there were 23 people that applied. It was an application process that had to get notarized, and that was really all we had to do. We had a 2-week window because the process had to happen quickly. So there was a 2-week window, and then we all went down to City Hall for a special call meeting, and they allowed us 2 minutes each to give a speech about why we thought we were the best person, and then they voted.
Now, there was kind of like a round robin thing where they got down to the finalists. Who were the finalists?
The first round of voting, there were votes. I received 2 votes, and Meredith Freeman also received 2 votes.
Is she an attorney?
I believe so.
Okay.
And then Tamara Schamberger had a vote, and
former Hillsborough County School Board member.
Yes, and Julie Jenkins had a vote. But because 2 of us got 2 votes each, we went forward in the next round.
I see.
And in that round, I received 4 votes, and she received 2 votes, and that was it. And I was appointed.
Who received 4 votes?
I did.
And who else? Oh, and who else? So you got the most votes out of those.
I did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes, I received votes from Bill Carlson, Joe Citro, Orlando Goods, and Guido Maniscalco.
And boom, she was in.
Yes.
Yay! Now, what's been so amazing is to see your work on the board. I mean, you just fit in there. It was like a hand in glove situation. You just were ready to take control, and people have really, really been amazed at the job you've been doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that. I hit the ground running. For the first 4 or 5 months, I would say it was like drinking from a fire hose.
Okay.
Just trying to learn everything about government, about how the city worked. I wasn't prepared. I took a sabbatical from my work, and I've kept that sabbatical. I haven't had time to do both jobs, and that's okay, because the city's growing. We have so much going on, and I feel like to do the job correctly, I really needed to dive in and learn about the departments in the city and all the questions that citizens had.
My gosh, that is a huge undertaking. I mean, the city of Tampa is just growing by leaps and bounds, and there's so many issues. All right, tell me about the makeup of the council.
Well, there are 7 of us on council. 3 of us are considered at large, which means we represent the entire city. That's districts 1, 2, and 3. Right now in District 1 is Joe Citro. In District 2 is Charlie Miranda. And District 3 is me, Lynn Hertak.
I see. And so we know that Luis Vieira, he's in that new Tampa area.
Well, the other 4 seats are districts. So the city's divided into 4 districts. And yes, Luis Vieira is District 7, which is New Tampa. There's District 6, which Guido Maniscalco currently sits in, and that's West Tampa area and a little bit of South Tampa. There's Orlando Goods is District 5, and he is in downtown and East Tampa. He also has Ybor. And District 4 is Bill Carlson, and that is South Tampa.
Okay. Now, we know we have elections coming up, March the 7th.
Yes.
The mayor really doesn't have a real competitor.
No, there is a write-in candidate, but that is it.
That's it. So we're considering that her seat is safe.
Most likely, yes.
Yes. So all of the rest of the councils is up for election, right?
Yes.
Every single one of them.
We are actually all up for re-election at the same time. So you could, in theory, have a brand new mayor and a brand new city council all at the same time. It doesn't happen, but no.
But we definitely have some contested races.
There's only one race that wasn't contested, and that's Luis Vieira, and he's safe in his District 7 seat for his second term.
Okay.
But every other race is contested. Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about your race. How many people have filed?
We had people file, but qualification was the 20th, which was last Friday, and I have 5. There are 5 of us in the race.
Okay, so who might they be?
There is a person named KJ Allen, and I haven't met him yet. There is George the Hunted Fashev.
Hunted?
That's his nickname. That's what he goes by.
Okay. No, thank you.
Then there's Jose Vasquez and Janet Cruz.
Bingo! That's the one we want to talk about. She was our former state senator. Well, she did a fine job. Unfortunately, she was she got caught up in the red wave like I did. I ran for Hillsborough County Commission, and unfortunately, we lost 2 county commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
We lost a state rep. And we lost a House rep, and we also lost Janet Cruz, who was a Senate rep.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty bad night for Democrats. However, Janet Cruz is available to run in your race.
Mm-hmm.
And she happens to be the mother-in-law to our mayor of the city of Tampa. Okay, because her daughter is married to the mayor, Anna Cruz. So this race has become very controversial, very fast, because we really kind of feel that being that the mayor was our former police chief, she has a lot of police issues.
Yes.
and she's 100% for the police. And we have some citizens who are not always that happy with the police. Let's talk a little bit about the Citizen Review Board.
Sure.
All
The citizen actually, this was one of the big issues that folks might have heard about last week. We had, sitting as city council, one of the things that we do, we're a legislative body. So one of the things that we wanted to do, we agreed to put forward 5 charter amendments, similar to when we were on the Charter Review Commission, but as sitting city council, we can do that for any race that we would like to. And we, again, so many of us having sat on the citizen or the Charter Review Commission really saw that some things just needed to be changed or tightened up a little bit. And one of the things was that people were asking for both to vote on the possibility of the Citizens Review Board to receive both subpoena power and an independent attorney. An independent attorney means someone who doesn't work for the city of Tampa. And we heard from the citizens came out for every single time we talked about it. It came in front of us about 4 different times, and they just wanted the chance to vote on it. And I didn't see anything wrong with that, so I voted to put that on the ballot. That is the only measure that we did not override. The mayor vetoed 5 of the amendments. We overrode 4 of those vetoes last Thursday, and the one that we did not override was the possibility of putting an independent attorney for the CRB on the ballot.
Okay, so the ones that did make it, which will be on the ballot, what are those?
See
if you can remember.
If I can remember all of them. One of them is just term limiting us as council.
I see.
So we couldn't really figure out why the mayor overrode that, because that has nothing to do with city government, really. It's just what it would do is put it in line with how the mayor works. So right now the mayor can run for 2 terms, and then they can have to sit out for at least 4 years, and then they can run again. So what our idea was to allow city council members to serve 2 terms in say a specific district, and then 2 terms in an at-large district, and then they would have to sit out for at least 4 years.
I see.
So just sort of keeping it the same as how the mayor works. Another one we put on the ballot was, of course, the Citizens Review Board independent attorney. Another one we put on the ballot, or we would like to put on the, we did, yeah, because this one got overridden as well, is to close the loophole with the mayor's hiring of department heads. Right now it says that an interim person runs the department until someone is chosen. But what happened with the last police chief choice was that the mayor hired from outside of the city and called that person interim, Mary O'Connor.
Let's talk about Mary O'Connor, our police chief for a very short time, because she was running around in a golf cart and asked a police officer to let her go. That didn't, and it was all on tape, so she had a very short tenure with the city.
Yeah, she was approved a few weeks before I was appointed, so I did not have a say in that vote. I was on the citizen side, where I was upset that we didn't get a voice in that decision. Obviously, like many neighborhood people, we knew Butch Delgado very well. We knew how he interacted with people.
So it came down to a choice between Mary O'Connor and Mr. Delgado. And
there was also a third finalist,
okay.
Someone from down in Miami, and her background was impeccable.
Okay. Well, we could just go on and on about what's going on in City Council, so we will be back after the break.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater, and all surrounding areas. Before I let you. Here come Miami's own Chico the Leon Grown Folks Night Out.
Take that mess from off the wall.
Saturday night, January 28th, inside the National Guard Armory. Strictly for the grown, put on your best, dress to impress, plus performing live.
Only you can make me happy.
Yes, it's Surface live and in concert. Chico the Leo Grown Folks Night Out comes to St. Petersburg Saturday night, January 28th, inside the National Guard Armory, 3601 38th Avenue South, along with Surface.
Closer than just.
Get your tickets now. Tickets $15 in advance. For more info, call 786-486-4366 or 727-768-4543 or go to grownfolksmiami.com and I'll see you there.
When you're close to me, I get all warm sin.
Hey, this is Tampa Bay Tammy. Don't forget to pick up your copy of In Touch News.
City Councilwoman Lynn Hurtak. And there have been several controversial issues at the board, at the City Council. And one of them is the water issue.
Yes.
It has a couple of names, Pure and Toilet to Tap.
Yes. It's a plan to put treated wastewater into the aquifer and then pull that water out and use it for drinking water.
So we would take our toilet water, clean it or treat it as best we can, and then put it into our bay.
No, into the aquifer, which is underground.
Underground. Okay.
Yes, that's where our freshwater, part of where our freshwater comes from. Unfortunately, right now we're only able to take a certain amount of things out of the water, the wastewater, and some of the things we can't get out are PFAS and PFOA, which are those forever chemicals, pharmaceuticals, things like nitrogen. There still are quite a few things that we can't take out, and the concern is if we put that into the aquifer.
So you're saying after the water is purified as best you can or treated, there's still going to be some chemicals in there?
Yes, because right now I believe we can only treat about 96%.
Okay.
To take out bacteria, a lot of the basic things obviously that would be in wastewater, a lot of stuff. So right now the plan is to put it into the aquifer, and the aquifer itself works as the limestone that surrounds it. We're built on limestone, and when the water comes through the aquifer, that works as a sort of a filtration system, and that filtration system, for water, the way that our earth was created and our nature works is it purifies the water as it comes out of this limestone. But nature is not prepared for man-made plastics, man-made pharmaceuticals. We don't know what that will do to the fresh water that's in the aquifer currently. We don't know if that will be filtered out. We don't know if the things that are in that wastewater might eat at the limestone itself. We just don't know enough about it. I'm not comfortable. And citizens are telling me it is the number one issue we get calls and emails about, that people do not want us to put treated wastewater into the aquifer.
If I may.
Okay. Our owner, our CEO, Daryl Johnson, has a question.
I do. And my microphone, it's all right. All right. Is there any difference in the way, is there any difference in the way a home, a home system? So I have a home system. I live on a well.
Okay.
And so I've got all these attachments. Are those the same types of processes that the city uses to purify water?
So the
All
question.
right, so we're going to have to repeat your question because you're saying you live on a well out in the county and you want to know, is that well system similar to what the city uses?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know the specifics, I'll be honest with you, but yes, that is actually one of the big concerns because there are quite a few people in the city of Tampa who still have well water. And that is a concern because once you put it in the aquifer, you're getting your water from the well from an aquifer. So yes, the concern is what would happen if for people who currently use well water. We just don't know. There's too many unknowns, and quite frankly, there's other things that we can do with our treated wastewater. Right now, last week, the City Council approved a $1 million grant from the state that would allow us to do a pilot project, which is called SIX, and it is trying to take even more of those things out of the water, the PFAS, the PFOA, the nitrogen, and what that would do is right now we put that treated wastewater into the bay. It's considered beneficial as fresh water. Now what that would do is if this pilot program works and it becomes better, and especially if we can take out things like nitrogen, we can still put it into the bay. The problem with the bay right now is that I sit on the Tampa Bay Estuary Board as part of my job on City Council, and right now the seagrasses are dying again.
And that's causing a manatee problem, right?
It is part of what's causing the starvation of manatees, and one of the big reasons is nitrogen. So if we can pull that out of the wastewater, that would absolutely be beneficial to keep releasing that into the bay. So that's why I'm excited about that pilot project. But right now, when we're talking about the reason we're talking about doing this with treated wastewater is the concern that we don't have enough water. Well, I think instead of going to this straight to this I mean basically a nuclear option is to try things like conservation first. We don't teach enough about conservation, conserving water, not using it necessarily for your lawns, putting some more Florida-friendly landscaping, what that looks like, using possibly a rain barrel system, and just letting people know other ways they can save water. That's just, to me, it's a very simple.
Well, I'm hoping that we can keep you on the board so that we can put some of these things into effect, because that sounds like an awesome alternative.
To me, it's the absolute first place we should start if we're really concerned about water and having enough of it.
I know that's right. Okay, so I'm trying to think, what is another really important issue that you faced while you've been on the board?
The thing that the citizens asked me to do more than anything else, right after I was appointed, was affordable housing.
Yes, let's talk about housing in the city of Tampa.
Right now, obviously, we have a huge housing crisis. We are one of the least affordable places for people to live. And
it's only getting worse.
Yes, unfortunately. And I had no actual experience in affordable housing before I got on the board, but I dove right in because that's what people told me they wanted me to learn about and to work on. So I did. And
I'm sure, I know you get a lot of citizen involvement on that issue.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
they're down there and they're making, and I know that Robin Lockett, who's also running for city council, is working with Florida Rising, and I know the Florida Rising people have been down there.
Oh, absolutely. have worked with them on several initiatives, including the tenant advocacy office that we got passed that helps people stay in the homes that they're currently in. We have a City of Tampa hotline. The number for that hotline to help, it helps with maybe finding the balance. If your rent goes up, we can help with that. But you have to live in the City of Tampa. It's very important.
Okay.
And or if you're having problems with your landlord, if you've gotten an eviction notice, you can call this hotline, and the number is 813-307-5555. I'll repeat that.
One more time. Yeah.
813-307-5555, and that's open Monday through Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. after working hours, so people can call.
You know what? Can we remind people where the boundaries are for the city?
It's a little tricky, I'll be
Okay.
honest with you. The best way to find out is to go to the Supervisor of Elections website, and you can type in your address and see if you're eligible to vote in this election. But generally, it is. Our lines are very skewed up to North Tampa. We took a lot of that land in, but we basically.
So basically, if you live north of Bush Boulevard, you're out.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm in Carrollwood, and I know I can't vote.
No, you cannot. That is just outside the city limits. So I recommend people look up their address and make sure they're in the city limits.
Okay.
Affordable housing. So this particular hotline, one of the wonderful things that it's done is we've also started another pilot project with Bay Area Legal. If folks are dealing with landlord issues or evictions, if they call this number and go through the city will pay those legal fees.
And we don't want people having an eviction. That is one of the worst things you can get on your record.
Absolutely. And so these are ways that we're trying to encourage people to these are the services that we can help to keep people where they are, because that's the number one thing we want to do.
Keep people housed.
Yes.
Yes.
Housing first is a phenomenal policy, and I wish we could do that here. And that's just the idea of making sure people are housed before dealing with any other issues. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough housing to do that. So one of the things that we are absolutely working on is more housing. I mean, that's ultimately what's going to get us out of this crisis is more housing.
Now, I've even heard about hotels being taken over. Have you looked into that?
I believe the county has looked into that. The city, I don't think we found anyone willing to do that yet, but doesn't mean we're not willing to try that. We're willing to pretty much partner with anyone. Tampa Hope was started a few months before I was appointed to council. And that's the homeless outreach, where folks have a space to stay. Right now, I believe there's 100 tents. It's in an East Tampa area, but they also have 100 small, like efficiency units. They're not even efficiencies. They're made with container housing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And there'll be 100 of those units put into that as well. But that program offers wraparound services, and what that means is if someone is homeless, and obviously the goal when they enter Tampa Hope is to get them housing, but maybe they don't have a current driver's license or ID, they've lost it, or they need help with GED programming, or they might have a substance or abuse problem and they need to do AA services or NA services. So those types of things that are offered to help people get success once they get the housing. Our last report from Tampa Hope, we've had 27 people, or 27% able to find housing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
In this economy, and then in this trouble with housing, that is pretty amazing.
Now, Catholic Charities, are they involved in that program?
Yes, they are. They are the ones this was taken this was modeled after Pinellas Hope, which is something that was done in the county of Pinellas that includes St. Petersburg, and they've had a wildly successful program for many years.
And you think our housing is expensive here?
Yeah.
St. Pete is even worse.
Yes.
Pinellas County is always worse.
And so those are just some of the steps that we're working on. We're willing to try anything. One of the other things that we're working on is not just getting new housing, but keeping people in the housing they're in also extends to people who own their homes. So a home repair program that allows citizens to get, say, a roof fixed or air conditioning fixed. And the agreement they set into with the city is that they'll stay in that house for a certain number of years. And if they decide to sell it, then they will have to pay some of that money back to the city. So really encouraging our community to stay where they are. So that's one way we can help house people, but also fight gentrification.
Yes. And it's a hard thing being a homeowner now because you have the homeowners insurance problem.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge problem we're all going to start to see soon.
We'll be back with more of Tampa City Councilwoman Lynn Hertat. All right. Mr. Michael Warner, wrap up.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted. Down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen or something. Down 184-361-RICK. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Better than, especially her. So why should we vote for Lynn Hertat?
Well, in my now 9 months on City Council, I really just have taken off and hit the ground running. I am everywhere I can possibly be, learning about the city. I have been able to put different measures through, including stopping this pure or toilet to tap and getting us to start back again.
The mayor's not happy with that issue.
No, I think that she really believes this is something that's important for the future. And so what I did was actually ask the water department to step back and just, instead of all these different possibilities, the public was very confused. And so I said, why don't we step back and just look at what would happen if we kept doing what we're doing? So you're saying that we're going to have this huge problem. Well, what happens if we're just doing what we're doing? Let the people know what the actual problem is, and then we can start a community dialogue about what we want to do about it. It's not me telling you need to do something. It's us talking together about if there's a problem,
Come to a consensus
how do
with
we
the
solve it?
community. Yes.
Well, there's nothing you can do more than communicate and educate. That is our job. And again, this comes from my background in elementary education. When you teach someone about something, when you share the information and let people make the decisions for themselves, it's amazing what can happen. We just need to make sure people know about these things so we can have the discussions.
Now, when it comes to the Citizen Review Board, what's your position on that?
Well, actually, Thursday night, after it was not approved to go on the ballot for the independent council, I went ahead and asked for an ordinance to be brought back so we could vote for it and just make it a part. That was one that they said that we didn't need to put on the ballot, that we could just do ourselves. And so we're going to have a vote on that in the next couple of weeks. And if people want to share, and advocate for that, if that's something that they think that they should have, they can always reach out to Tampa City Council at tampagov.net. That is our email address for all 7 of us. You can get to all 7 of us. It's Tampa City Council at tampagov.net.
Okay. And any other issues that are passionate to you?
Well, the issues I'm running on are affordable housing, considering to focus on that, including I currently sit on the Affordable Housing Committee for the city, and I'm learning so much through that. Transportation. Now that All for Transportation has not passed, we need to figure out what else we can do.
So sorry that did not. I was for that tax because we need money for transportation. Tampa is just so far behind when it comes to transportation.
Well, the thing about that tax is it wasn't just transportation in terms of buses or things like that. It was also fixing our roads. We have a lot of need
and
for
sidewalks.
that. Yes, absolutely. So transportation. I am the only sitting councilwoman or council member, period, who rides the bus on a regular basis.
Oh,
I'm also
really?
an avid urban cyclist, so I know what it's like to bike around the city. And then my other issue is, of course, sustainability, which deals with the stormwater issue and just saving water and also saving garbage, which sounds weird, but we throw too many things away. We could recycle a lot better. We could compost. There's a lot of different things we could do, but again, we aren't educating the public because right now almost 80% of our recycling goes into the trash.
Oh,
Do you know why?
really?
It's because people don't recycle the things they're supposed to recycle. You know whose problem that is? That's ours. We haven't taught them how to do it so correctly. So those are the types of issues that I'm working on. And in my race, I have several other opponents, but I believe I have shown the people that I'm willing to fight for the things that they want. I hear it all the time. I'm willing to speak to people who want to pass certain issues or concerned about things. I have an open door.
Well, I'm going to say that you and Janet Cruz are going to probably end up in a head-to-head race, and I think the choice is going to be very stark because she's for all the things you're against.
I don't know. Probably, but I would venture to guess that we just have a very different style of working.
And she's for all the things that the mayor is for.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So you're going to have a very pretty black and white choice, I think, when you get to the ballot.
Oh, I believe so. I mean, I'm doing the work. I have worked with people. I was endorsed by the Central Florida Labor Council, and
that's a big one, folks.
It was very important to me. That's the union. That's the workers. That's what keeps our city and our running. I mean, both the city of Tampa and the city at large. The workers are near and dear to my heart. Again, having been a former union member, one of the things that I'm very proud of is that endorsement. I've also been endorsed by County Commissioner Pat Kemp and
I love Pat Kemp
and State Representative Diane Hart.
Wonderful. And I want to tell you that we had some real, I want to say a special shout out to Pat Kemp and Mariella Smith, because they really worked hard to help get me elected. And I like to see that camaraderie, especially among Democrats, to get people, we gotta pull together.
Absolutely. And I do want to remind people that the deadline to actually register to vote, if you aren't, is February 6th. You can go to the Supervisor of Elections website and you can just Google Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections and you can find the website and you can register to vote there. Early voting is from February 27th to March 5th. And so those are the general early voting locations. I believe those are the same. But again, the Supervisor of Elections website will have all those details. And then Election Day is March 7th.
Now, we really want you to get the word out about these races because only about 25% of the electorate shows up to vote.
Yes, and additionally, those people who are used to getting a mail-in ballot, those aren't coming anymore.
Your mail-in ballots are not coming unless you register again.
Yes, that's a state law that was passed, and after November...
That's a DeSantis rule.
Mm-hmm.
It's called voter suppression.
Yes, and what we can do, all we can do is get the word out. If you normally vote by mail and you want that ballot, reach out to the Supervisor of Elections and just ask for one. It's as simple as that.
They're hoping you're going to forget or not know to ask. And then by the time you figure out your ballot's not coming,
absolutely.
Maybe you can't get to the poll.
Yeah, I absolutely encourage everyone to vote in this election because the mayor doesn't have any opposition. So really, the only say the people have is in city council.
And usually when there is a contested mayoral race, you have more involvement of the voters.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And
so it's going to take all of us to really get the word out.
Definitely, 100%. And I hope I have won over support today. And so I'm really, I'm grateful for you having me on the show today to reach to more voters.
Well, tell us what we can do for the Lynn Hurtak campaign.
Well,
look right there and tell the people.
You can go to lynnhurtak.com. My name is Lynn, LYNNHURTAK.com to learn more about my campaign. You can volunteer. You can donate.
We need volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody can do that, right?
Anyone can do it.
Even kids can do that.
Absolutely.
Like 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
They can pre-register to vote.
Absolutely. Some of the things that we're doing right now are we have people calling voters.
Anybody can call right from their home, right?
Exactly. And we have a lot of folks who are knocking doors. And they can do that in their own time. They don't have to do that on any set schedule. Exactly. And that is exactly what we're getting. We have so many people who've reached out to knock doors, and I would love to have more. I love that involvement. I would love to have more people involved in that effort. So if you are able, please don't hesitate to reach out and get involved.
Wonderful. And you know what? We, unfortunately, during the midterms, we had a little fall off on volunteers. But I think that with what's going on at the state level with DeSantis and how he's trying to take away American studies and the Anti-Woke Act and all this, you need to get involved.
Yes, and I've actually had a lot of people get involved in my race because they believe that I'm doing a wonderful job, and they don't think it was a good idea for the former senator to hop into a race of the only woman on council and the someone who's doing a really great job.
You know what? I agree. I mean, we need you there because you express support for the issues that the community really, really wants you to talk about. You're a voice for the community.
Thank you so much, and I intend to keep being so.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynn Hurtak, for coming by. We appreciate you. Share this. Let people know. Get the word out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.